Have you ever fished at the beach and gotten skunked? Maybe you're on vacation in the month of May down here in Florida, or maybe you just moved here and you've seen people fishing on the beach and you want to give it a try. But the truth is, if you've tried it and you've gotten skunked, you might be doing some things that's keeping you from catching fish. For instance, maybe there's a certain fish that you're trying to target, but what you don't realize is that fish isn't even around because the water's too warm or cold. So to help you not leave the beach empty-handed this month, I'm going to show you what fish to target in May, what bait and rigs to use. I'm even going to talk about weather and water temperatures and how they affect beach fishing. As a beach fishing guide, I've compiled years of footage and pictures and knowledge from fishing on the beach that I have packed into this video to help you know what to do when you come out to the beach, so you have more of a chance of hooking up on some fish. And if there's some noise in the background, it's just the sound of the waves because we're recording this right here on the beach. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe because I'm putting out a video like this for every month of the year to help you catch more fish from the beach. In the month of May, you're really going to be targeting pompano for sure. We're still going to have a lot of whiting in the surf. Past Mays, we have had a lot of sea trout caught. Now, these aren't speckled sea trout, but more like sand sea trout, which can actually get pretty big. And the cool thing about them is they are not regulated, so you don't have to worry about sizes, you don't have to worry about how many to keep or not, and they are pretty tasty. I've tried them. And also in May, we are catching quite a few sharks. Take a look at these pictures. In previous years, let's talk about the sharks. We've been catching not only bonnet heads, but we've also caught black tip, we've caught scalloped hammerheads, we've caught all different types of sharks, nurse sharks. And one thing is for sure, if you're beach fishing for any period of time, you're gonna catch some sharks, whether you're targeting them or not. So I would suggest that anyone who's beach fishing take the shark fishing course through the FWC. There's a link in the description, and it's a really good course. It talks about shark identification and it covers safe handling tips for sharks. And so even if you're not targeting them, you are going to catch them by accident. We catch bonnet heads all the time. Last month I ate probably 4 bonnet heads. They were so good. I just released a catch and cook video, and I'll give a link to that in the description. So if you catch a good bonnet head, maybe 2 or 3 feet long, that's excellent table fare. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. It's really, really good. So check that video out and try some shark. It's good. Mainly in May, you're going to be targeting those pompano. Schools of pompano are coming back. We're really hoping to catch some today because we've got some clean waters going on. But in Flagler County, where I'm usually fishing, you'll notice from my videos recently, it's been really dirty, and there's probably a reason for that, and I think it's because they just did that beach restoration. It's really messed up the fishing, I think. So a lot of what we're catching is whiting and sharks and catfish, and we're not seeing a lot of pompano in Flagler County right now. So it's going to take a while. Whenever there's a beach restoration like that, it's going to take a while for things to settle down and go back to normal. If you're specifically wanting to target pompano this month, you're probably going to have to drive and find clean water. You can drive up further north, you can drive further south in Volusia County. But as the water temperature warms up, pay attention to the water temperature because pompano are most comfortable in that 70 to 80 degree water temperature. So as the water gets up into the 80s, those pompano are going to start heading north. They're going to start migrating up to the Carolinas. So you're going to want to get on those pompano while they're here in our water temperature right now. You can still expect to hook up on some good whiting in the month of May, probably between 12 to 15 inches. They're good eating size, good table fare. And if you haven't tried whiting, such a good fish. And the cool thing is, it's a very common fish. We can catch them all year round here in Northeast Florida. So go catch yourself some whiting and get some dinner on the table. Along with all of those main species that I mentioned, we were catching a whole lot of other fish. Ladyfish, a lot of bait fish like jack crevalle and spotfish, lots of sharks as we talked about before. You can expect to be catching catfish if we have dirtier waters in certain areas. And you might also catch species like black drum, bluefish, and even some weird ones like we caught, like this pufferfish, hairy blenny. Have you ever seen one of those? Or this crazy lizard fish? You may be able to hook on a tarpon in May or June. So check this video out. Last year, I actually had a tarpon hook onto one of my lines. That was a rush. Gosh, that was a tarpon. Check this out. I hooked up on a 6 to 8 foot tarpon today, and it jumped completely out of the water. Almost missed all of the video footage, but you can see the distance it was from the shore and the amount of the splash. You can see that that was a really big fish. Well, we're slowing this down for you, and let's watch that again. Gosh, that was a tarpon. All right, we are down here at a low impact beach. So recording this for our beach fishing tips, and this is just an extra tip. I wasn't even planning to show you this, but just showing you how far, like, I'm walking in here and I'm probably gonna go up to just past my knees so I can cast, because you can look and see there's still not a ton of depth, even right here, but we're trying to get past some of these waves. Whew. Okay. And then look at, the line to get back to our sand spike there. This is why we use, 5,000, 6,000, reels, because they're gonna hold a lot more line. Look at that, it's just floating right off, and we're nowhere near the sand spike. If you're using like a little 3,000, 4,000 reel on a low impact beach, you might get spooled before you get your reel back to the sand spike. Let's talk about what bait you're going to be using for beach fishing in May. Now, just like any other month, you're going to need a whole plethora of choices of bait, from shrimp to sand fleas. If you can get ghost shrimp, that's an excellent bait to use on the beach. Artificial bait to having casting lures. All types of different options is what you're going to need to have, because from one day to the next, even from one tide to the next, or even a couple of hours away, you don't know what the fish are going to want, and their tastes can change. I've seen it happen just this last week, where we started out using sand fleas, and then they stopped biting on sand fleas and they were biting on the shrimp. So you want to have a lot of options available. I've always got salted shrimp. I've got live bait. Usually whenever I'm running a charter, I try to have live shrimp, even though I use them fresh dead. And we have lots of different flavors of fish gum, so that we can try to figure out what the fish want every day when you're out there. Here's a tip though with bait. When it comes to pompano, you want to keep your bait small. A lot of people make the mistake of putting a whole shrimp on. Well, if you look at a pompano's mouth, it's so small that they probably won't be able to fit their whole mouth over that shrimp, and they're going to get frustrated trying and stop trying to bite your bait. So cut it up into smaller pieces. You can use sand fleas. If all you found are big ones, I like the medium-sized ones, but if all I have is a big one, I'll cut it in half. And that way, not only does it release the scent into the water of the sand flea even more, it will be able to fit inside of that pompano's mouth. So keep that in mind when it comes to pompano especially, even whiting. Their mouths are really small, so don't use your bait too big. And if you're finding this information helpful, you'll want to subscribe, because along with these videos for every month of the year, I put other videos out all year long to help you catch more fish from the beach. And we're going to be doing even more videos of different types of fishing too. So if you like to do other kinds of fishing, go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to have some of that content coming at you too. Here's an extra tip that I wasn't planning on talking about until I was getting ready to leave today, and I grabbed these. These are our sinkers that we have made by Redfin Fishing. Got them in our branded colors, 3 ounce, 4 ounce, and 5 ounce, and these things hold better than any of the other sinkers that we have tried on the market. For instance, here's our 4 ounce sinker. This is going to hold like a 5 ounce because of the type of material and the way that the bend is in the legs. And then the legs will release like this when you're reeling it in. This is another type of sinker that Jason at Redfin Fishing makes with the planer on the top. And what this does is really cool. So when you start reeling this in, this little planer takes it to the top of the water and it comes in along the top instead of being dragged along the bottom. So in certain conditions, this type of sinker is what you're going to need. So go check that out. I've got the link in the description for Redfin Fishing, along with a good sputnik sinker to keep your rig where you want it. you're gonna want a good rig for beach fishing. So you're always gonna have some type of double drop rig, some type of pompano rig. It will probably have floats on it or beads. It might have floats on the hooks like the ones that I make, but you're gonna wanna have some type of pompano rig to target these pompano. And in February's video, I talked about the rig colors and which ones you wanna use for what conditions. So go back to February's video and watch that for that section. There's a chapter there, you can flip right to it. If you're gonna be targeting sharks this month, not only are you going to need a rod that can handle the sharks and a reel that can handle the drag that you need for those sharks, but you're gonna wanna have a rig. If you have a whole setup and then you don't have a rig that's strong enough, it's just gonna break off and you're gonna lose that shark. Have a shark fishing rig that can handle those sharks. You can find them at Redfin Fishing. Check his site also, not only for sputniks, but also for those shark fishing rigs. At the end of April, our water temperatures were hovering in the low 70s. And by the end of May, they're gonna be into the low 80s. So with those water temperature changes, that's gonna change the fish that you're gonna be targeting, because fish, they cannot regulate their body temperature, so they have to go where they're most comfortable. So pay attention to the water temperature and you're gonna know what fish to target. But as those water temperatures warm up, those pompano are gonna be moving north like I talked about earlier. So you're gonna wanna get on those pompano while they're here. Today we've got some nice breezes. It's not super hot, but as you can tell from my shoulders, I'm getting sunburned. So I put my sunblock on a little too late. I was out in the sun all day yesterday, so I'm getting a little burned. I've got a sun shirt that I'm gonna be putting on shortly as soon as I'm done filming. So you're gonna wanna make sure not only that you have some type of sun protection, but also that you drink a lot of fluids. I keep electrolyte packets with me all the time so that I can stay hydrated. If I'm starting to feel a little lightheaded or something, I keep the energy chews. I buy the Gatorade energy chews and I use those when I'm out on the beach and I'm starting to feel like I need a little bit of something in my body. Those will give me some quick energy, especially I'll take them right before I need to, like if I have to walk a long way when I'm leaving the beach, I'll eat those down and then I've got the energy to get back to my car. Something that we've also noticed in the month of May is the seaweed starts returning. If there's one thing that'll shut down a beach fishing trip quick, it's seaweed. We've got a little bit today that's coming on our lines, but there's been times where you can't even reel in the line hardly. It's almost practically getting snapped off because of the seaweed. It's not fun. But when you have seaweed, you might want to consider fishing what we call a naked rig. So that's a rig that doesn't have any floats or beads on it. So there's that much less equipment on it to get caught up in the seaweed. And so that might be a good thing to try next time you're out and you're starting to see seaweed. Switch to a rig that doesn't have any floats or beads or anything on it and see if that works better for you. Also, when it comes to May, you're gonna deal with more thunderstorms in the afternoon especially. Not just because of the hot temperatures, but get out in the morning and fish. We're here in the afternoon now, but we don't, thankfully don't have any thunderstorms, but typically we start, especially by the end of May, we start seeing a lot more thunderstorms and they'll just pop up out of nowhere. So I'm gonna overlay this video when I was out fishing and the sky started getting really dark and I was pretty far from my car, so I just barely made it back before the sky opened up. Actually, I was just down the way. I'm just realizing this now. I was fishing this same beach before, just down a little bit. I didn't even get back to my car before it just started dumping rain and it was thundering and lightning. Not a good situation, guys. So be aware of the radar. Keep your eye on it. If it looks like it might start storming, get packed up and get back to your car and be safe. And one more thing about May when it comes to the weather and everything, we've noticed an uptick in, at least in our area, of beachgoers. You want to go to early morning to fish so that you're not having people swimming through your lines and you're not annoying people. For some reason, when people come on the beach, even if you've been there a long time, they feel like they have the right to be there more than you when you're fishing. So I don't know why that is. I know you're not allowed to harass a fisherman. On the flip side, we want to be kind to the people around us. If there was more people around now, I would bring in one of my lines. so that I'm not taking up so much space on the beach. And so I do that a lot. I'll bring in one of my lines, I'll move them closer together so I give more people space to be out on the beach. For our third pro tip today, I'm going to catch up with you after I get home, and I'm going to show you how I clean off all my equipment to where you're not going to have things locking up, you're not going to have things rusting on you, you're going to keep everything in good working order. So we have just gotten home. The first step we're going to do is to get everything out that needs to be rinsed off. I'm going to lay it all out on the driveway. Whether you're doing freshwater fishing or saltwater fishing, you're going to want to rinse everything down with water. But one thing I want to point out to you is a lot of people don't realize that you should not be using like a jet setting for rinsing off your reels. This is the jet setting. For your reels, I put it on a shower setting. You want a lower setting. And we're getting the sand off and things like that. I'm getting the sand off, especially the tips. You know, if you put them on the ground before you leave, make sure you get all of that. But on your reels, you're going to want to spray them from the bottom. Because if you're spraying them here or from the top, you could be putting salt water and sand deep down in there. And I try to keep it about 10 seconds on each side. It's going to help loosen up any of the salt water, any of the sand, and push it out of the reel. The most important thing with the cart, if you've got these tires, these balloon tires with the axles, we spray down the entire cart. There's usually sand that gets caught between these tires. I'm going to spray on the underside here on these axles, and you definitely want to do this every single time, because if you're not doing this, this is how it gets squeaky. And then you usually have sand that gets caught here. I'm going to switch to jet mode. But really important to get all that sand and junk out from the axles and the tires. That's going to keep that cart preserved for the long term as we're taking care of it after every single trip. Until then, tight lines and God bless. The noise that you hear in the background is just the sound of the waves. So if anything, you can let the sound of the water lull you to well, you don't want to be asleep. No, I don't want to say that. That was a blooper.